Good afternoon, Tiegerman parents, families, friends, staff, and of course to our beloved students if you're watching, greetings. My name is Dr. Jeremy Tiegerman, and I am the director of Tiegerman Schools. I'm coming to you today from my office in school. Today's date is Friday, November 6th, 2020. This video today is the next portion of our series of informative communications called the State of the Union. Being that today is the first Friday in November, this means that we got through the months of September and October in school as safely as possible without major disruption. Hold it, newsflash. We did recently have a brief disruption in one of our school buildings, and I will update you all on this later in the State of the Union. I am not sure that you are counting, but I wanted to alert you that as of today, Tiegerman schools have completed 46 days of school over the course of 10 weeks. Normally, this is not an extraordinary accomplishment, but during a global pandemic, it certainly is. This accomplishment was certainly not easy and not performed by a single individual. Significant effort and planning were devoted to ensuring our staff was as prepared as possible to face the challenges of working during a global pandemic. In addition, substantial work on your part at home was necessary in learning and enacting the protocols and policies necessary to keep students and staff safe in our school buildings. Thank you. Like I mentioned during our last video, Dr. T, Dr. Rad, and I want to communicate our pride in the way we all have stepped up to face the challenges to date and know that no matter what we face going forward, we can accomplish anything if we stay together and stay Tiegerman tough. As I have mentioned to all of you over the past several months, we are not perfect, but we will do everything in our power to eventually get it right. All of you at home are very important parts of our team. And if you have feedback on your child's learning experience to date, or if you have suggestions for our task force regarding our present pandemic protocols, please never hesitate to reach out to your building principal or to us at social@tiegerman.org. I have a couple of items today that I want to go over, and then we will jump into the building updates. First, I want to commend all of our students in school who are wearing masks. I know it is not easy and it can be uncomfortable at times, but you have done such a fabulous job of helping to keep our schools safe. Parents, I also want to thank you because you worked with your children in order to help prepare them for September. Students, parents, and staff, wonderful job. Bravo. Keep up the great work. On to testing. Now, for some of our families and staff who are in our Queens locations, this will be a review as we have already initiated our mandatory weekly testing programs in your buildings. For families and staff in our Glen Cove locations, this information will be new as our schools in Glen Cove do not presently reside in a colored zone. These colored zones are red, orange, or yellow. And based on the fact that they do not presently reside in these zones, they do not have to institute a mandatory testing program as of yet. The Queens schools do because they are in the yellow zone. As part of the Governor Cuomo's executive order for schools in certain zones, Tiegerman schools in Queens, a high school in Richmond Hill, and the Tiegerman School at Woodside, as I just mentioned, both in the yellow zone, have partnered with a testing vendor who reports to our school buildings on a weekly basis to conduct testing on students and staff. Schools in yellow zones have been mandated to test 20% of our student population. These are the students who attend school in person, and 20% of our staff population on a weekly basis. The guidance from the governor and the local health department is that testing sample must be selected at random on a weekly basis. In the event your child or a staff member is selected to participate in testing for the week, a consent form for testing and a HIPAA authorization form must be filled out and returned prior to the scheduled testing date. The consent form and the HIPAA authorization form only need to be filled out once a year. Please listen carefully to the following as it is very important. If your child is selected to be tested and you do not provide consent, your child will be required to participate in remote learning and teletherapy for a period of time. Additionally, if your child is selected to be tested and is absent from school on the day the testing is scheduled for him or her, your child will be required to participate in remote learning and teletherapy for a period of time. Once the period of time elapses, your child may return to school in person. Parents, please contact your building administrative team if you have any questions regarding our testing program, or if you have specifics on the period of time your child will have to remain in remote learning if you do not consent or if they do not show up on the date that they are supposed to be tested. Next update, student and staff safe return to school following presentation of symptoms. We discussed in the past that this was quite stringent, and what we required in the past was if a child or a staff member presented with symptoms on that COVID-19 list, you can only return to school following resolution of symptoms, clearance from a doctor, and a copy of a COVID-19 test result. Okay? Now, our school buildings have been open for several months. Protocols have been in place to ensure students and staff can safely return to our school buildings. The policy is changing due to updates to CDC and Department of Health guidelines. As it stands now, in order for a student or a staff member to return to a school building after being out for potential COVID-19 reasons, our nurses will now require written documentation from a healthcare provider acknowledging either a negative COVID-19 test or identification of an alternate diagnosis that may be causing the symptoms. So that's one piece, okay? Nurses need documentation from a healthcare provider, okay, with either acknowledging a negative COVID-19 test or an alternate diagnosis. Or if you don't get the healthcare provider's documentation, you can simply present a copy of a negative COVID-19 test result directly to your child's building nurse. In the case of a staff member, he or she will need to present a copy of the negative test result to Human Resources. Families, I know this was a lot. Please make sure that you are in touch with your building nurse in order to make certain that you are all on the same page prior to sending your child back to school. Your child must be given clearance by the building nurse prior to his or her return. All of our students' information is always protected. However, in COVID times, data now needs to be shared with the New York State Department of Health. All Tiegerman schools are required to report daily to the New York State Department of Health. This information can be found daily on their website under the COVID-19 report card section. Our schools can be found under the private school section, and then you will have to go to your child's specific Tiegerman building to see our COVID-related data since the beginning of September. Remember I talked about that brief disruption in school? Here's the update. One of our school buildings had to operate in remote for 48 hours last week on Tuesday, October 27th, and Wednesday, October 28th, due to a confirmed COVID-19 case in our Glen Cove Preschool Elementary School building. Immediately upon discovering that we had a positive case, our COVID-19 protocols were set into motion. I mention this to all of you to reassure you that we have procedures in place to mitigate spread, as well as to help keep our students and staff as safe as possible. Tiegerman Preschool Elementary School worked with the local Department of Health to contact trace and to determine the appropriate period of school closure. The local health department recommended 24 hours to sanitize the school building as we were only able to identify one confirmed case. This is important. It is only one confirmed case in a building or a classroom. Then we shut down for 24 hours for cleaning. While this was the recommendation, we felt 48 hours was an appropriate determination as we wanted to perform extensive sanitizing in our building and wanted to give additional time for contact tracing. In addition to the 48-hour sanitizing protocol, staff and students who were deemed as close contacts to the positive case were required to quarantine at home for a period of time prior to returning to school. I present this case to all of you as it is a reminder that it is highly likely that all of our buildings may be impacted at some point this year in a similar fashion. I also present it to you as it can help you to be aware of what to expect and also provide you with an understanding of what typically leads us to the decisions that we have to make. All righty, on to more enjoyable topics. Development Department. Last year at this time, we were gearing up for our annual gala. This year, as most things are, it is a very different year. The need for social distancing means that it is no longer possible to hold a live event or gather in large groups. But that does not mean that we haven't given up on having fun events. So, without further ado, this is what the development office has recommended. We are having our gala virtually. We are planning a fundraiser for January to take place in place of our November gala. We will be making it fun, informative, and engaging. Stay tuned for more information. Mrs. Crowder would like me to alert you that donations can now be accepted on Facebook and Instagram. You can donate and set up your own fundraiser for birthdays, holidays, and celebrations on Facebook. We will send a special thank you gift to all who create a fundraiser. We are partaking in Giving Tuesday, which is December 1st. This is a great time to do something which helps to pay it forward. Kids and adults can get involved in many levels. Check out the site givingtuesdayspark.org/get ideas for some ideas, and please share photos with social@tiegerman.org when you do. Hashtag Giving Tuesday Kids. Champions for Charity. We try to participate in this every year. It is Thursday, December 3rd through Saturday, December 5th. Shop at participating stores and 25% of the full price. Pre-tax purchases will be donated to Tiegerman. End of year donations. If you or someone you know would like to make an end of year donation, please visit tiegerman.org/donate. As you know, your support helps to continue to teach the extraordinary. On to our very important building updates. For all of our buildings, next Wednesday, November 11th, all Tiegerman schools will be closed in observance of Veterans Day. Glen Cove Preschool Elementary School. Our wonderful principal, Mrs. Karen Katzman, wants me to remind all of our families, parent-teacher conferences are beginning on November 12th. Thanks to our wonderful PTFA, who always supports us. Our students went trunk or treating, picked pumpkins, and went on a scavenger hunt for Halloween. For our remote students, there will be games and fun. Don't worry, that's coming. We didn't forget about you. In December, all the schools are hoping to have a presentation for our families on mindfulness. This will be presented by staff from Northwell Health. Please look out for information on that. Glen Cove Middle School. Our fabulous principal, Mrs. Kristen Lyons, would like me to remind all of our families that student council presentations and elections will be held next week. They will be celebrating Red Ribbon Week on Thursday, November 12th. And the end of the marking period is this Friday. That's today, November 6th. Richmond Hill High School. Our fabulous principal, Mrs. Lauren Leonardi, wants me to remind or alert families that the dance-a-thon in November that was held on November 4th was a great success. All donations raised will go towards the dance program. The first marking period is over today, Friday, November 6th. Parents, please check emails for updates on missing work in danger of failing. Extra credit packets will be provided for students. Parent-teacher conferences will be conducted during the month of November. If parents would like to meet with their child's teacher or therapist, please email the teacher or therapist directly to set up the appointment. Please understand that the teachers and therapists have limited time during the day due to full teletherapy and in-person and remote instructional schedules. Teachers and therapists are available before and after school to meet via Zoom or by phone call. The winter performance will be virtual. Each homeroom will be involved in some capacity. The specifics of the winter performance are to be determined, so please look out for information on the website or from notification from the high school in email or memo format. Students have been registered for the January Regents. Newsflash, you probably have seen it already, or if you have not, the January Regents have been canceled. So please make sure if you have any questions about that regarding your child, please make sure you touch base with your building principal, Mrs. Lauren Leonardi, an administrator there, or Mrs. Helfont, who is the guidance counselor there. Tiegerman School at Woodside, Mrs. Nina DeVita, the unrivaled principal, says that the marking period 1 will end on Friday, November 6th. That is today. World Kindness Day on Friday, November 13th. Parent-teacher conferences will be held on November 23rd, 24th, and the 25th. And time to socialize for in-school and remote students happens every Friday. Please look out for information on that. Parents, families, friends, staff, and students, it was wonderful reconnecting with you today, and we will continue to do this throughout the course of the school year. We look forward to facing the challenges of the 2020-2021 school year with you, and always want you to remember that we can accomplish anything if we stay together and stay Tiegerman tough. Have a restful weekend all.